So there's a rumor in the NBA rumor mill, and it talks about Mike D'Antoni possibly coaching the Philadelphia 76ers next year. Mike D'Antoni. Let's talk about Mike D'Antoni's track record and the players that he coached. He formerly coached Phoenix. He coached Steve Nash. This guy is very talented with the ball offensively. He won league MVPs. Then he went to New York City Knicks. Mari Stoudemire, who he coached with Phoenix, came to New York. Offensive talented player. Carmelo Anthony, offensive talented player. He went to Houston. James Harden, offensive talented player. He also coached, even though it was for 1 year due to this pandemic. He also coached Russell Westbrook, an offensive talented player. Mike D'Antoni's system is all about scoring. All right? There's no defensive structure or style or system that coincides with Mike D'Antoni. The only D in Mike D'Antoni is his middle name. But I digress. Now, if this rumor is true, and if he's going to be coaching the Philadelphia 76ers, look at the Philadelphia Sixers roster for a quick hot second. You got Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Talented players. Hasn't yet proven that they're superstars yet. But the players I just mentioned before, you can see how it's a possibility that these players are going to be very successful in Mike D'Antoni's system. I don't know about the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons is having issues shooting mid-range. Very questionable at the three-point line, even though I was on the record saying that at least he's trying and he's sort of improving. I felt like if this pandemic didn't take place, he would have progressed some. How much, I don't know. But as far as his progression on the three-point line, it took a back seat due to the pandemic. But he was working on it, not to the point where he can consistently make that shot. Joel Embiid is pretty much the same player. I mean, he's a big that plays like a big. That plays like a big from the 90s, 80s, and 70s. Joel Embiid's problem is he can't stay consistently healthy. Okay? His body wears down. And that's due to his diet plan. I think Joel Embiid, he's in the same situation as Shaquille O'Neal, even though Shaquille O'Neal was a little taller and a little bigger. But that was the question posed to Shaquille O'Neal. If Shaquille O'Neal worked out a little bit more, chose the right things to eat, Shaquille O'Neal could have had, stretched that prime, those prime years. Okay. And Joel Embiid is pretty much in that same position, in that same boat. I think if you compare the two, Shaquille O'Neal's a little bit more talented with the ball. I mean, he can do things with the ball that Joel Embiid hasn't done yet. He hasn't even scratched the surface. But Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and their next head coach is Mike D'Antoni. Now, that's the rumor. If Mike D'Antoni pulls this off, and let's just say hypothetically, he gets the Philadelphia 76ers, as far as the regular season go, winning on all cylinders. If he can get them very successful in the regular season, they may get bounced in the second. Or if he can get them to the Eastern Conference Finals, then his job is done. His job is secured. Because he literally did something that was outside his norm. And what I mean by that is Mike D'Antoni has always had a custom of playing or having players around that had, offensive talent as far as shooting goes. And if he can pull this off with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, this is massive. Even if they don't make it to the finals, that is a very successful task. I still think they're going to still have the same results. They, go to the playoffs, get possibly get kicked out of the playoffs by better talented, well-rounded teams that can play both sides of the court. Obviously, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to have a defensive-minded assistant coach to help them as far as defense goes. But if he goes to the Philadelphia 76ers, and let's just say hypothetically they have a very successful year, and they either get bounced in the second round or make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and get bounced there, that, he's secure. He is very secured. All right. I don't think this is going to resonate as far as them winning titles. Now, if Mike D'Antoni goes there, and let's just say hypothetically they keep Ben Simmons and they keep developing him, and somehow, and let's just say they traded away Joel Embiid and get some more offensive-minded players around Ben Simmons, that could probably benefit Mike D'Antoni's style and system. Obviously, he's going to have to change some things if he keeps both of those players. Remember I said earlier in the video, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are very talented players, but they're not very consistent around the mid-range and the three-point. And health concerns is very potent to Joel Embiid, and it's starting to be the same way with Ben Simmons. He's starting to get the injury bug. Not as much as Joel Embiid, but it's starting to happen. The process, trust the process. Is it a failure? I mean, if you're talking about failure as them going to the East, winning titles, well, yeah, but I don't think it's a failure. I just think they drafted two players that were pretty much similar. Not the same, but pretty much similar. And they both have the same issues. Not being very consistent as far as mid-range and three-point. And Joel Embiid is more so with his injury. But more so with his injuries, why he can't stay on the court. But nevertheless, the possibility of Mike D'Antoni coaching the Philadelphia 76ers. With all the other, like Jacque Vaughn, I think Jacque Vaughn is a great candidate for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think there's like a multitude of other younger up-and-coming coaches that are very qualified to coach the Philadelphia 76ers. Not to say Mike D'Antoni is not qualified, but to me, Mike D'Antoni has run his course with the Philadelphia, with NBA in general. This man always gets jobs. He always makes them very successful in the regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, they get bounced midway through. But this man is accustomed of getting jobs. Meanwhile, you got a lot of coaches out there who are trying to get their first coaching gig. But when you got Mike D'Antoni possibly coaching the Philadelphia 76ers, even though that's a rumor, you already got Steve Nash coaching the Brooklyn Nets, and this will be his first stint as a head coach. Meanwhile, you got all these other coaches that can't even get their first crack at coaching. You got a lot of candidates out there who are very qualified to handle and run these franchises. Coach these men. Coach these talented talented teams. And then what's left? The teams that are still rebuilding, the Charlotte Hornets. You want to hang your hat on the Charlotte Hornets, and they're still rebuilding. And if it proves to be disastrous, I mean, prove as far as getting them into the postseason, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, then that stain sits with you. And then that's the reason why a lot of other positions, when they're opened up with talented players, they look at that and say, well, you couldn't improve the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, folks, Phil Jackson can't resonate the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, that's how bad the Charlotte Hornets are. I mean, it doesn't matter who you put in there. They're still in the process of rebuilding due to their bad decisions in the draft. But nevertheless, Mike D'Antoni is possibly going to be coaching the Philadelphia 76ers. I just don't see how that fits. And due to what the players that they already have under contract, they really don't fit Mike D'Antoni's style. So I believe Mike D'Antoni, the true measurement of a coach is to fit his system around the players that he have, not the players fit to the coach system. If he can do that, which I think he should be able to do that, he's going to have to tweak and twerk a lot of things that he's accustomed to as far as implementing his system. If he can do that, I feel like that's going to be very beneficial. He's going to be coaching two talented players, Ben Simmons. Why I say Phil Simmons? Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are two talented players that any up-and-coming person that's in the coaching ranks want to become a head coach. If that's your first team, you want a team like this that has two talented players, possibly future stars in the making. All right? So that's what's going on in the rumor mill. We're going to have to wait and see. But there's a reason why the Philadelphia 76ers has not filled that seat for their for the head coaching seat. It's still a vacancy there. And that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't fill it yet, because it was waiting for one of these coaches to either get fired or just, if you look at, even if Doc Rivers lose, if the Clippers lose, Doc Rivers not going nowhere, okay? All the other teams that have already lost, they're not going nowhere. I mean, those coaches are not going nowhere. They got a good situation where they're at, you know? The only person that could have possibly gone anywhere was Mike D'Antoni. He was this was his last year. And when he lost and got bounced and got swept to the Lakers, he knew the writing was on the wall. I'm about to regurgitate a lot of stuff I said in my previous video. I apologize. But that's the only person. If you're waiting for somebody to coach them up on your team, you still got a vacancy for your head coach. You're not waiting for people that are already trying to get their first stint. You're waiting for something that you believe that's a proven talent, a proven commodity. And I think that, and they was waiting for Mike D'Antoni. We're just going to have to wait and see how all this plays out, how all this works. But it is what it is. I'm done. I'll see y'all in the next video.